Jurassic World deserves a sequel, just not the one it got, mainly because these two clown shoes deserve to be in prison. To spin back for a minute, the OG Jurassic Park followed the story of a dinosaur theme park that falls apart before it even opens due to a lack of proper health and safety procedures and a relaxed attitude towards background checks. Spinning forward to 2015 saw the release of Jurassic World, which followed the story of a dinosaur theme park that falls apart several years after opening due to a lack of proper health and safety procedures and a relaxed attitude towards background checks. Everything goes tits up for Jurassic World in the space of a single afternoon, peppered with the various maimings, crushings, chompings and the prolonged torturous death of the only British person in the movie. At the end of that lot, and some teeth-based calculus for some reason, we're left in the hands of these two, who are painted as the heroes even though nearly everything that happened throughout the movie was directly their fault. Among their many themes, the Jurassic Park movies, particularly the first one, revolve around the hubris of man. What happens when we play with a science we don't fully understand, and what are the consequences of those actions? The death of the worker at the beginning of Jurassic Park leads to the inspection. Hammond's hubris and Nedry's greed lead to the chaos in the park. This leads to Hammond losing control of InGen to his totally not evil assistant, which leads to InGen almost going into administration. This leads to Jurassic World, where the Masrani Corporation has bought the struggling InGen, opened the park, and brought mild-mannered Dr. Wu back to life in the form of an evil clone with fantastic hair. Dumb decisions then cause the park to fall apart, but none of those dumb decisions have any consequences for any of our characters other than death, particularly Claire and Owen, who are not only the main characters of the film, but they also have important senior positions within the park. Claire, as the operations manager, has the ultimate responsibility for the safety of the people in the park, but does a bunch of crook shit throughout the runtime that directly and indirectly leads to mass injury and death. And then there's Owen, a dinosaur expert and advisor who, through the medium of being a dumbass, manages to cause everything. The beginning of the end comes when Mr. Masrani insists that Claire gets Star-Lord to come and inspect the new paddock for Frankenstein's dinosaur, the Indominus Rex. But they can't see the Indominus and there are scratches on the wall, so they just assume it escaped. One would think they would have procedures in place for this, something like locating the animal's GPS chip, checking the CCTV footage, or asking any of the dozen odd workers outside the paddock if they saw a dinosaur tippy-toe by. Do they? Well, the security guard's desk doesn't even face the glass, so no they don't. First, Claire jumps in her car and just buggers off. She makes a call to someone, we know not whom, to warn them that the Indominus has escaped. It's not the control room she calls, she does that a little later, and though she mentions ACU, the Asset Containment Unit, during this first call, they don't muster until the control room calls them later, so it's possible that this first call is to her lawyer. She then calls the control room and asks them to use the GPS to locate the Indominus. It's still in the cage, they say. Oh, my mistake, she replies, and everyone just gets on with their day. Only they don't, because Star-Lord, the dinosaur expert, has decided to enter the cage to get a closer look at the scratch marks that were right next to the observation window. Anyway, he and two obviously dead extras get a call warning them that the Indominus is still in the cage with them. They run, and while they do attempt to book it for the human-sized door, with the death of extra number 1, the Raptor Whisperer opts instead for the dinosaur-sized door this place has for some reason. The control room rightly overrides this and starts to close the door. It's worth noting at this point that if these three had just died in the cage and nothing else had happened, there would have been an investigation into their deaths, which would have likely criticised Claire for just fucking off without checking the GPS first, but ultimately blamed these three ding-dongs for entering the cage without, checking. Sadly though, that isn't all that happens. Instead, Star-Lord leads the Indominus straight through the door like a moron, therefore directly causing everything that happens. To sum up the character of Chris Pratt in movies so far, he's released the Indominus Rex, fucked up the plan to get the Infinity Gauntlet, and woke up Jennifer Lawrence. This guy's a dick. Anyway, they track the Indominus by GPS and send the Asset Containment Unit after it. This does not go well, and they all get murked. Star-Lord decides to gloss over his role in letting the thing out in the first place and acts all "I told you so" to shift suspicion. He tells Claire to close the park and evacuate the island. She doesn't want to though. Why?
We'd never reopen.
This is the bit that when they read this back to her in court, there will be an audible gasp. It's probably safe to say at this point in her trial that most of the jury would be against her, but if there were any holdouts, she'd lose them with what's next, when she decides to abandon her post in the middle of the emergency that she kind of caused, as well as all of her other duties and responsibilities, and just fucks off, taking the dinosaur expert with her to rescue her own family members. It's safe to say that any court would convict the shit out of both of them, and it doesn't help their case that these two, whose fault this all is, are in a quasi-romantic relationship with each other. Remember that captain who capsized a cruise liner because he was too busy trying to impress his side piece, and then fucked off whilst the thing was still sinking? Yeah, he went to jail for that, and so should these two nutmuffins. Do they? Sadly not. In 2018's Fallen Kingdom, the second installment of the sequel trilogy, the defunct dinosaur theme park has grown self-aware, and annoyed with the continued folly of man has decided to kill everyone by blowing up. With the imminent eruption of the volcano none of the multi-billion-dollar investors noticed, the world is faced by a moral question: should previously extinct dinosaurs be saved? After a lengthy debate, they land on a firm nah, fuck 'em. Claire, the ex-operation manager of Jurassic World who has miraculously gotten off scot-free, has a complete character 180 from previously not giving a tuppenny fuck to suddenly being empathetic, and now wants to save the animals from double no-take-backsies extinction. With the help of John Hammond's childhood chum Lockwood and his own totally not evil assistant, they hatch a super secret plan to rescue the animals and take them to an island sanctuary where they can live out their lives in peace. It's worth mentioning at this point that Lockwood's island sanctuary is not Isla Sorna from Jurassic Park 2 and 3, where dinosaurs are assumably living out their lives in peace, therefore negating the need to save the ones from the park. Though Sorna does get a brief name check by the totally not evil assistant at the beginning, something I missed on first viewing because I was too busy googling the returns policy of the shop I got the DVD from. Claire, Star-Lord, two nameless people, and mercenary group number 3 put on their best Noah's Ark cosplay and go to the island to round up the animals, but having not paid attention in Sunday school as well as basic biology, only get one of each animal. Overly convoluted story short, hijinks ensue. The mercenaries turn out to be wrong-uns, and everyone books it back to the ship as the island that has been rumbling for a while now decides to kick off properly during the hour and a half that they're there. And though the imminent destruction of the island is being closely followed by the news, the US Congress, the UN, animal activists, and countless scientists, no one notices the big boat of dinosaurs leaving the island to be taken off to not a new sanctuary, but back to the mainland United States, to be auctioned off by Lockwood's totally not evil assistant. Hijinks then re-ensue, and now there are dinosaurs loose in America, to which everyone loses their shit, forgetting entirely about the fact that each animal has a GPS tracker, and the whole only one of each thing, which suggests that this problem will eventually sort itself out. But then Ian Malcolm says welcome to Jurassic World, which is the name of the movie, so everyone has to take a shot. Credits. And that's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the sequel that we got. The first half is set on a live volcano, while the back end is in some dude's house. As for consequences for the events of Jurassic World, we're told that the Maserani Corporation has paid $800 million in damages to those who were injured or killed during the event in the park, which seems low, whilst Claire becomes a humanitarian, cold-calling millionaires and senators with zero repercussions, and Star-Lord is off building a cabin by a lake. So what am I asking for then? For the sequel to Jurassic World to be a long courtroom drama where the events and failures of the first film are laid out in excruciating detail to a weeping Claire and po-faced Owen as they sit physically and emotionally exhausted behind the defendant's table while outside a baying mob calls for their heads? Not quite, though personally I would love to see that. My point, if there ever was one, is that Jurassic World, for all its faults, tried at least to go back to the central hubris of man theme, with every authority figure in the film so convinced by their own double awesomeness and infallibility left dumbfounded, dick in hand, when things blow up in their face. The main fault in Jurassic World is that these two are painted as the heroes when they're actually and actively the bad guys, trying to shift suspicion to the mad scientist with the great hair, who, don't get me wrong, is sus as fuck. But look at that hair.